Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am so grateful you've joined me today, and I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. Consider for a moment the profound influence of relationships on the human experience. Our lives are defined by the connections we forge, the interactions we embrace, and the bridges we build between one another. When a man and a woman cease to contact each other, it is not merely a matter of personal choice, it is a disruption in the intricate web that holds society together. We are creatures designed for connection. The interplay of masculine and feminine energies has driven human progress since the dawn of time. The collaboration between men and women has given rise to families, communities, and civilizations. To sever that connection is to deny ourselves the richness of shared understanding and mutual growth. Yet this is not an uncommon occurrence. Fear, misunderstanding, or even societal constructs often lead men and women to retreat into isolation. Perhaps it stems from the fear of rejection, the complexity of modern relationships, or the narratives that paint interaction as fraught with danger or conflict. Whatever the cause, the result is the same: loneliness, alienation, and a growing chasm between two halves of humanity. What happens to a society when its people refuse to engage with one another? The answer is as simple as it is devastating. Stagnation sets in, creativity diminishes, and empathy wanes. The absence of dialogue leaves room for caricature and prejudice to flourish. Without connection, the richness of shared perspectives is lost, and with it, the capacity for growth. But this is not an irreversible trend. The solution lies in something as fundamental as it is challenging dialogue. Honest, respectful, and courageous conversation has the power to dissolve fear and build trust. When men and women speak openly, listen intently, and treat each other with dignity, they reclaim the potential of their shared humanity. We must strive to understand one another not as adversaries, but as collaborators in the journey of life. To retreat into silence is to abandon the very essence of what it means to be human. Let us instead embrace the courage to connect, to confront our differences, and to celebrate the profound unity that lies beneath them. In doing so, we honor not just ourselves, but the legacy of all who came before us and the promise of those who will come after. Human connection is at the very heart of what it means to live a meaningful life. It is through relationships that we discover not only who we are, but also what we can become. The bond between individuals, particularly between men and women, is not merely a social construct or an incidental aspect of human life, it is foundational. From the earliest moments of human history, our ability to connect and cooperate has been central to our survival and our flourishing. These connections are not just practical, they are deeply emotional, psychological, and spiritual. When men and women engage with one another in meaningful ways, they create a space for mutual understanding and growth. Each person brings a unique perspective, a different way of seeing and engaging with the world. This interplay of viewpoints does more than just bridge gaps, it enriches life for both individuals. The exchange of ideas, the sharing of burdens, and the celebration of joys are made infinitely more profound through this dynamic interplay. Connection is also the birthplace of trust and intimacy. It allows us to feel seen, heard, and valued. Without it, life can feel hollow, as if something essential is missing. A meaningful connection between individuals fosters a sense of belonging and purpose. It provides a grounding force that reminds us we are part of something greater than ourselves. The beauty of human connection is its ability to transcend the mundane. Through shared experiences and relationships, life gains depth and color. Moments of joy become brighter when shared challenges feel less overwhelming when faced together. The dynamic between men and women, when approached with mutual respect and understanding, has the potential to unlock the best in both, creating a synergy that is greater than the sum of its parts. In a world where individualism and disconnection are often celebrated, the importance of human connection cannot be overstated. It is not an optional part of life, it is a vital element that shapes who we are and what we can achieve. By fostering meaningful connections, we tap into the essence of what it means to be human, embracing the richness of life in all its complexity and beauty. Isolation, whether physical or emotional, has profound consequences on individuals and society. Human beings are inherently social creatures designed to thrive in connection with others. When that connection is severed, intentionally or otherwise, the effects ripple through every aspect of life. Isolation is not simply the absence of interaction, it is a state that can fundamentally alter how we see ourselves, how we engage with the world, and how we understand our purpose. On a personal level, isolation often breeds loneliness, a feeling of being cut off from the warmth and companionship of others. This loneliness can be corrosive, eating away at one's sense of belonging and self-worth. Without meaningful contact, individuals may begin to question their value or relevance. The absence of validation and shared experience leaves a void, one that is difficult to fill with solitary pursuits or material distractions. Over time, this can lead to depression, anxiety, and a host of other psychological challenges. The effects of isolation extend beyond the individual to the social fabric itself. When people retreat into their own worlds, trust between individuals diminishes. Misunderstandings and prejudices can grow unchecked when there is no dialogue to challenge assumptions or bridge divides. In the absence of interaction, stereotypes are left unexamined, and the richness of diversity is lost. The result is a society fragmented into silos, where collaboration and empathy become increasingly rare. Moreover, the consequences of isolation are not only emotional or psychological, they are also practical. Progress, whether personal or societal, depends on collaboration. The sharing of ideas, the pooling of resources, and the collective problem solving that drives innovation all require connection. When isolation becomes widespread, stagnation is inevitable. Creativity and progress falter when people are unable or unwilling to engage with perspectives outside their own. The long-term impact of isolation can be deeply damaging. It fosters a culture of detachment where people prioritize self-preservation over mutual support and connection. This creates a vicious cycle. The more isolated individuals feel, the less likely they are to reach out, and the less connection they have, the deeper their isolation becomes. Breaking this cycle requires conscious effort, both at the individual and societal levels. Ultimately, isolation deprives us of one of the most fulfilling aspects of being human, the ability to share our lives with others. It limits our capacity for empathy, growth, and joy. To overcome it, we must recognize the immense value of connection and actively seek to nurture relationships, not only for our own well-being, but for the health and progress of the world around us. The biological and psychological dynamics of human interaction are deeply ingrained in our nature, influencing how we form bonds, communicate, and understand one another. At the most fundamental level, humans are wired for connection. Our brains and bodies are designed to thrive in relationships, and the interplay between these biological and psychological forces shapes much of our behavior. From a biological perspective, connection with others triggers the release of key hormones and neurotransmitters that contribute to our sense of well-being. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, plays a crucial role in fostering trust and closeness between individuals. It is released during moments of physical and emotional intimacy, reinforcing the bonds that tie us together. Similarly, dopamine and serotonin associated with pleasure and mood regulation are also influenced by positive interactions. These chemical responses demonstrate how deeply our bodies are attuned to the benefits of connection. Psychologically, humans have an innate need for belonging and acceptance. This need is rooted in our evolutionary history, where survival often depended on being part of a group. To be isolated meant vulnerability, while connection offered safety and resources. This drive for connection persists today, manifesting as a deep-seated desire for relationships that provide security, understanding, and support. The dynamics between men and women in particular are shaped by both complementary and contrasting biological tendencies. While these differences can sometimes lead to misunderstanding, they also create opportunities for growth and balance. Men and women often approach problems, emotions, and communication in distinct ways, and these differences can enhance collaboration when approached with mutual respect. Each perspective adds depth to the relationship, creating a dynamic interplay that fosters learning and adaptation. The psychological dimensions of interaction also include our capacity for empathy and understanding. Humans are uniquely equipped to imagine the feelings and perspectives of others. This ability, essential for deep connection, is nurtured through meaningful interactions. Without it, relationships can become transactional or superficial, failing to satisfy the profound human need for closeness. At the same time, when these dynamics are neglected, when relationships are strained or absent, the consequences can be significant. Prolonged isolation disrupts the balance of these biological and psychological systems, leading to stress, loneliness, and even physical health problems. The absence of human contact can trigger a cascade of negative effects, from increased cortisol levels to a diminished capacity for emotional regulation. The interplay of biology and psychology in human relationships underscores how essential connection is to our well-being. It is not merely a luxury or a preference, it is a fundamental aspect of our existence. By understanding and honoring these dynamics, we can build relationships that not only fulfill our individual needs, but also contribute to the flourishing of the communities and societies we inhabit. The interactions between men and women and the connections they foster are fundamental to the cultural and societal structures that define our world. When these interactions are absent or impaired, the effects reverberate far beyond the individuals involved, influencing the very fabric of communities and the direction of society as a whole. Cultures are shaped through dialogue, shared experiences, and collaborative efforts. Men and women, each bringing unique perspectives and strengths, contribute to this process in profound ways. The exchange of ideas between genders has historically driven creativity, innovation, and the development of shared values. These connections give rise to families, institutions, and traditions that form the backbone of a thriving society. However, when contact between men and women is limited, the cultural narrative begins to shift. Without the balance and diversity of perspectives that such interactions provide, societies can become rigid and polarized. Misunderstandings and stereotypes take root, fostering division rather than unity. In the absence of dialogue, individuals are more likely to retreat into insular worldviews, reducing the richness of cultural exchange and weakening the foundation of mutual respect. On a societal level, the lack of interaction between men and women can impede progress. Many of the advancements in art, science, governance, and social reform have emerged from collaborative efforts that leverage the strengths of both genders. When these opportunities for collaboration are diminished, innovation and problem-solving suffer. Societies that fail to encourage healthy relationships between men and women risk stagnation and decline, as they forgo the potential of combined talents and insights. Moreover, the absence of connection impacts societal trust and cohesion. Trust is built through repeated interactions that demonstrate reliability, respect, and empathy. When men and women do not engage meaningfully, mistrust and suspicion can grow. This erodes the social capital necessary for communities to function effectively. A society divided by fear or misunderstanding becomes vulnerable to conflict and instability, as the lack of cohesion makes it difficult to address shared challenges. Cultural growth also depends on storytelling and shared narratives, which are enriched by diverse experiences and voices. Men and women, through their interactions, contribute to the stories that define a community's identity and aspirations. When one side of this dialogue is absent, the cultural narrative becomes incomplete, failing to capture the full spectrum of human experience. At the same time, societies that nurture healthy connections between men and women experience significant benefits. They create environments where individuals feel valued and understood, fostering greater collaboration and mutual respect. These societies are more resilient, adaptable, and creative as they draw on the collective strength of their members to navigate challenges and seize opportunities. The cultural and societal impacts of men and women failing to engage meaningfully cannot be overstated. These connections are not just personal, they are the lifeblood of thriving communities and cultures. To neglect them is to risk the erosion of trust, creativity, and shared purpose, while fostering them ensures a legacy of growth, harmony, and progress. Fear and miscommunication are significant barriers to meaningful interaction between men and women, shaping how relationships are formed, maintained, or avoided altogether. These forces often emerge subtly but can grow to have profound effects on personal relationships and the broader social landscape. Understanding their roots and impacts is essential for overcoming the disconnection they create. Fear, at its core, is a response to perceived threat or uncertainty. In interactions between men and women, this fear often stems from the possibility of misunderstanding, rejection, or judgment. Modern society, with its complex expectations and shifting norms, has amplified these fears. Men might fear being misinterpreted or overstepping boundaries, while women might fear being dismissed, disrespected, or made vulnerable. These anxieties, while sometimes rooted in genuine past experiences, often generalize to situations where no real danger exists, creating a cycle of avoidance and hesitancy. Miscommunication arises when individuals fail to understand or convey their thoughts, feelings, or intentions accurately. Differences in communication styles, cultural backgrounds, and personal experiences can contribute to this gap. Men and women may approach conversations with differing priorities, one seeking solutions, the other seeking empathy, for example, and without awareness of these differences. The result is often frustration or a sense of being unheard. The combination of fear and miscommunication can lead to significant emotional and relational consequences. When people fear interaction, they may avoid conversations altogether, opting for isolation over the potential discomfort of engagement. This avoidance prevents opportunities for understanding and connection, perpetuating stereotypes and reinforcing preconceptions. Over time, the lack of dialogue can create an emotional distance that is difficult to bridge as each person builds a narrative about the other in the absence of direct experience. Miscommunication, when it occurs, can exacerbate feelings of alienation. A poorly worded comment or a misunderstood gesture can create tension, even if the intent was benign. The fear of such misunderstandings often discourages people from speaking openly, leading to guarded, surface-level interactions that lack the depth necessary for genuine connection. On a societal level, fear and miscommunication contribute to the polarization between genders. They feed into cultural narratives that portray men and women as fundamentally incompatible or in opposition. These narratives erode trust and prevent the collaboration necessary for addressing shared challenges. Without intentional efforts to foster understanding, the divide deepens, creating a culture where suspicion and avoidance replace empathy and cooperation. Breaking the cycle of fear and miscommunication requires conscious effort from individuals and communities. It begins with the willingness to approach conversations with openness and humility, recognizing that mistakes and misunderstandings are part of human interaction. Active listening, empathy, and a commitment to clarifying intent can transform potentially divisive moments into opportunities for growth. Ultimately, fear and miscommunication are not insurmountable obstacles, but challenges that require patience and courage to overcome. By addressing them head-on, men and women can create a foundation of trust and understanding, opening the door to deeper connections and the fulfillment that comes from genuine relationships. Respectful dialogue is one of the most powerful tools for fostering understanding, building trust, and resolving conflicts between men and women. It is through conversation, approached with mutual respect and an open mind, that individuals can navigate differences, celebrate commonalities, and deepen their relationships. The importance of such dialogue extends beyond the personal, influencing the broader social and cultural dynamics of a community or society. At its essence, respectful dialogue is rooted in the acknowledgement of the other person's inherent dignity and worth. It requires a willingness to listen without judgment, to speak without condescension, and to approach each interaction with the intention of learning rather than dominating. When men and women engage in such exchanges, they create a safe space for honesty and vulnerability. This allows for the exploration of ideas, emotions, and perspectives without fear of ridicule or rejection. Respectful dialogue plays a critical role in bridging gaps caused by misunderstandings or preconceived notions. Men and women often come to conversations with different experiences, priorities, and communication styles. Without respect, these differences can lead to frustration or conflict. However, when individuals take the time to listen and seek understanding, they can uncover the underlying values and motivations that unite them. Differences become opportunities for growth rather than sources of division. Moreover, respectful dialogue fosters trust, an essential foundation for any meaningful relationship. When people feel heard and valued, they are more likely to reciprocate with openness and honesty. This creates a positive feedback loop where trust deepens with each interaction. Over time, this trust extends beyond individual relationships, strengthening the social fabric and encouraging collaboration in families, workplaces, and communities. Respectful dialogue also encourages emotional resilience and intellectual humility. It challenges individuals to examine their beliefs, confront biases, and acknowledge the limits of their understanding. In doing so, it promotes personal growth and a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human experience. For men and women, this means not only understanding each other better, but also recognizing and valuing the unique contributions each brings to the table. The absence of respectful dialogue, on the other hand, can lead to polarization and resentment. Conversations that lack respect often devolve into arguments or defensiveness, shutting down the possibility of connection. This erodes trust and perpetuates the cycle of miscommunication and disconnection, further entrenching stereotypes and divisions. In a broader societal context, respectful dialogue is a cornerstone of progress. It enables diverse voices to come together to solve shared problems, innovate, and build inclusive communities. Societies that prioritize such dialogue are better equipped to navigate challenges, embrace change, and foster harmony among their members. Ultimately, respectful dialogue is not just a method of communication, but a commitment to valuing and understanding others. For men and women, it is an essential practice for cultivating healthy, enriching relationships and for contributing to a world where cooperation and empathy prevail over division and discord. By prioritizing respect in every conversation, we lay the groundwork for a more compassionate and connected society. Reconnection between men and women requires intentional effort rooted in a desire to bridge gaps, foster understanding, and restore trust. When disconnection sets in, whether due to fear, miscommunication, or cultural barriers, it can feel challenging to reestablish meaningful interaction. However, pathways to reconnection exist, and they begin with deliberate actions that prioritize empathy, respect, and shared purpose. The first step in rebuilding connection is fostering open communication. Honest and transparent dialogue creates a foundation for understanding and healing. Both men and women must feel safe expressing their thoughts, fears, and desires without fear of judgment or dismissal. This openness requires active listening, hearing not just the words but the emotions and intentions behind them. When people feel genuinely heard, they are more likely to trust and engage in further conversations. Another essential pathway is cultivating mutual respect. Reconnection thrives when both parties approach each other as equals, recognizing the inherent value and dignity each brings to the relationship. Respect means acknowledging differences without diminishing the other person's perspective or experience. It also involves demonstrating consideration through actions, showing that the relationship is a priority. Empathy plays a crucial role in rekindling connection. Understanding the other person's experiences and emotions helps break down barriers of fear and misunderstanding. Empathy requires stepping outside one's own perspective and imagining the world through the eyes of another. For men and women, this means appreciating the unique challenges, strengths, and vulnerabilities each faces. Such understanding fosters compassion and reduces the potential for conflict or resentment. Shared experiences can also help bridge divides. Engaging in activities or goals together builds rapport and trust. Whether through collaborative work, community involvement, or shared hobbies, these experiences create opportunities for interaction and bonding. They remind individuals of their common humanity and the joy that can come from mutual cooperation. Education and self-awareness are also vital in the journey to reconnection. Men and women must take the time to reflect on their own biases, assumptions, and past behaviors that may have contributed to disconnection. This self-awareness allows for personal growth and a greater capacity to engage authentically. Education, whether formal or informal, about communication, relationship dynamics, or cultural context can further enhance understanding and reduce friction. Practicing forgiveness is another significant pathway. Disconnection often stems from hurt, whether intentional or accidental. To move forward, both parties must be willing to let go of past grievances and focus on rebuilding the relationship. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or condoning harmful behavior. Rather, it involves releasing the hold that resentment has on the present, making space for new possibilities. Lastly, patience is key. Reconnection is not an instant process. It takes time and consistent effort. Men and women must be willing to navigate setbacks and frustrations with perseverance. Small steps taken consistently can lead to meaningful progress over time. In a world increasingly defined by division and misunderstanding, the disconnection between men and women stands as both a challenge and an opportunity. It challenges us to confront the fears, miscommunications, and societal barriers that have grown between us, but it also offers us the chance to rebuild relationships that are richer, deeper, and more meaningful. The bonds between men and women are not merely personal, they are foundational to the strength and vitality of our communities and cultures. Reconnection begins with a commitment to mutual respect, open dialogue, and shared purpose. It demands that we look beyond our differences to see the humanity in one another, to listen with empathy, and to act with courage. These efforts, though they may seem small, hold the power to transform not just relationships, but the very fabric of our society. Let us choose to reconnect not out of obligation, but out of recognition that together we are stronger, wiser, and more capable of creating a future worth striving for. The path forward lies not in isolation, but in unity, not in silence, but in understanding. When we embrace this truth, we reaffirm the power of connection to heal, to inspire, and to lead us toward a more compassionate and harmonious world.